Hi-ho, everybody. It's your old pal Fido. Welcome to the newest edition of Hey Man,
nice kiss shirt.
You know me. I'd like you to meet my buddy Nick.
Hey there.
First timer on the pod. He's got some fun stories to tell. We've been acquainted for years and never really addressed our mutual love for Kiss. So let's get into your drum set.
Yes.
You showing me the pictures. So so give us a little bit of your Kiss origin story.
Yes.
Starting with that, and we'll just kind of work around. And...
Absolutely. I guess for me, I'm an only child with parents that like music but aren't obsessive music nerds like me. So I got into a lot of music on my own, including Kiss. One thing that turned me on to a lot of music was Beavis and Butthead. I'm 42 now, so at that point when those shows were coming out, they turned me on to all kinds of bands, including Kiss. And when I racked my brain to really try and think about it, I think the I Love It Loud video being on Beavis and Butthead was possibly what sparked it for me, as far as I can really remember. So I was like, I turned 10 at the end of 92, so like 93, this would have been, but I was just obsessively getting into music at the same time and starting to play drums. So it was all kind of like everything colliding all at once for me. So, yeah, so I guess you could say we've been like two Kiss cruise ships passing in the night.
Yes.
Because we've been acquaintances, but just whatever, never hung out, never got to really sit and talk.
Right.
So
I've, the local rock venue, the Midwest's premier rock venue, the Machine Shop. Nick's been at the Machine Shop for years. I've played there several times with several bands over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you said, it's been ships in the night.
Yep, and just one night, though, after I got the kit he's talking about, which I will tell you about in one moment, I said, hey, dude, you got to see this, because obviously he's a drummer also, and I had heard what a giant Kiss fan he was also, so I'm like, got to see this. So last year at auction, I won a kit. It's a 1970s Pearl fiberglass shell kit that is an exact recreation of Peter's mirror ball kit from Alive. So it's the exact sizes, the shells, and this was done by hand by a famous drum builder. For all the any of you that are out there that are drum nerds probably have heard of Billy Baker. He's a drum builder, drum customizer. So he did this kit by hand. Eric Singer acquired the kit from him, and then David Frangione, who's the CEO of Modern Drummer Magazine, acquired it from Eric. I won it at auction after David put it up for auction. So I saw you at the Machine Shop, and I said, hey, dude, you got to see what I got. And then that just kind of started from there.
So how old is the kit? Like, when did he...
So he did the kit within the last few years. It's actual mid-70s era-correct Pearl fiberglass shells. Billy did it within the last few years. You can kind of go back online and see, if you search for it, his like kind of progress photos, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Then Eric got it from him, and I got it at auction last spring in 2024. So it must have been April, if I'm thinking right off the top of my head, April 2024 when I got it.
I'm gonna throw some pics up so you guys can see the kit. But yeah, it's obviously a thing of beauty. Those of you who the kit when you
you'll see it when
it's pretty amazing.
So I was stoked to get it and stoked to show all the people I knew that were big Kiss fans, including you, and then I'm glad that was able to spark this.
Yeah, I think I walked away from that show. It's probably when Drat played, and I remember just walking away from that show going, man, I gotta have Nick on.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Happy we finally got the scheduling worked out, and I'm excited for it.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for being here.
Hey, my pleasure.
So you guys know what we do. Every week, 7 questions from Rock and Roll All Night and Journal Every Day. It's a year-long guide celebrating the fun of being a Kiss fan, brought to you by Rick Howard, a.k.a. It's All For You Demon. Every Friday, Rick posts another great video on his channel. I want you to like and sub that dude if you haven't already. If you're watching this, you're already there. So we're going to get into these questions. But first, what do we call this thing? Hey,
Hey,
man.
man.
Nice Kiss shirt. So let's get into it. We've got, this is actually took me by surprise. From Kiss Online, probably within last couple of years?
Last couple of years sometime, yeah.
So yeah, I had no idea. I hadn't seen that design. I think it's pretty cool. It's retro, and it incorporates not only Rock and Roll Over, but the solo album posters, which is always groovy. And of course, this is a fresh one for me. The newly re-released limited edition of Hotter Than Hell, and so far I'm digging it, man. I haven't put up the poster yet that came with the vinyl, but it's my favorite era. That's a good off-book question for you. Like, what's your favorite costume era?
Probably, for me, it's got to be in that Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over phase era, you know. Yeah, I just something about that, and I know we talked about it briefly before, but you know, obviously the songs are so good on the first 3 records, but then the next 3 studio albums, the production level is just so much better that it really just elevates it, and it's like on steroids, you know. So to me, that era of Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun is kind of my favorite studio album chunk. So kind of everything stems from there with me, with artwork and costumes and stuff.
Yeah, they were really hitting their stride at that point for sure. Not quite super Kiss, but just they were hungry enough. But they were starting to be able to afford, you know, higher production value, and Kiss was really nailing it then. So let's get into the book. Without further ado, August 20th asks, do you own an RIAA Kiss Gold or Platinum record? If you do, who was the award originally given to? If you don't, which award would you like to add to your collection? And who would have been the original dream owner?
Well, I thought about this. I do not own one. I would love to add one someday. I guess the easy answer for that's any of the albums and the original owner, Gene, Paul, Peter, or Ace. But I want to also give an answer that is like theoretically more realistic, like, hey, you might actually be able to acquire this someday. So the album is less relevant to me, I guess, if I was going to choose, I'd say Rock and Roll Over, just because that's my personal favorite artwork, hence the shirt, hence, you know, the era and the costumes that I like best, my for sure favorite album cover. But I was thinking of an answer of something that's maybe theoretically within the realm of possibility. So I would say dream original owner Larry Harris, who was Neil Bogart's cousin and an executive at Casablanca Records. If you haven't read it, Larry wrote a book called And Party Every Day. That's the history of Casablanca Records. It's not exclusively a Kiss book, but obviously that's a major part of the book, as they were the first act on Casablanca and a major part of the record label's history. But this book is great, and even though it's not exclusively about just Kiss, every Kiss fan needs to get this book and read it. So I don't know, there's just something about that particular book and, you know, we've all read them all, and they're all great for their own reasons, but just something about that book, and it's like, oh, you know, if I had Larry Harris, you know, RIA award plaque, that would be cool. I don't know, just because I enjoyed his book so much, and it's maybe theoretically possible to get your hands on one of those as opposed to something impossible. Right, and this isn't my area of study. I mean, there's a lot of these things of which I'm ignorant, because that's those have always been, even before prices got ridiculous, RIA awards, especially like legit original floaters, as they're called. Floaters have always been kind of out of my price range. So I'm not even sure if what I'm thinking about even exists. If there were awards
for the originals or
Mhm.
or the originals 2. I think it would be a cool looking, obviously to have 3 records in a frame like that would, like I said, I've never seen it. I don't know if it actually exists. But one of those would be cool. Obviously, awarded to the band or Sean Delaney. I think it'd be cool to have the originals a Delaney RIAA award. Also, it would be extremely cool to have Steve Glantz award for Alive. And going back to Larry Harris, because wasn't it Larry? And I can't remember if Steve was on hand or not, but when they presented the award to them on stage at Kobo, I know Larry was there, but I think Steve, because Steve promoted it, I think he might have been on hand for that. So yeah, that would be cool. But yeah, just to circle back, on what Nick said about and Party Every Day. If you haven't read it and you like a lot of the inside baseball, that's a great book.
Oh yeah.
If you're into the machinations of record labels and the hedonism of the 70s, and just those of us who are musicians and have ever had a dream about signing a record contract, it's like those days are never coming back. Like the way it's described, the way they pull back the curtain in that book. I mean, I signed my first record contract in 95. And I signed a handful of them. One of my bands, we kind of joked that we were label destroyers.
Yeah.
Because we'd put out one record on the first label, and our next record was a completely separate deal. And it's just, boy, that's it's if you grow up reading about Mr. Big and Sign on the Dotted Line and all those sort of like apocryphal fairy tales about signing with a label, and then you do it for real, and then the disillusionment sets in pretty quick. It's like, oh yeah, I forget there's tens of dollars to be made in this industry. Right. And then as soon as you sign a contract, it's just money that you owe somebody. Oh yeah. It's kind of funny, but yeah, the way that book lays out the golden days of the 70s is pretty tremendous. All right. Moving on to August 21st. Who would win in a fictitious comic book war? Shout at the Devil era Motley Crue or Creatures era Kiss?
I went with Creatures era Kiss, not just because Kiss is my favorite band. I do love Motley Crue. They're a big band in my life also. And I do think Shout at the Devil is their best start-to-finish album that they ever put out. But I was thinking about this, and I'm by no means any expert in the general realm of superheroes or comic books or anything, but I kind of, in my mind, that battle would be between, like, Motley Crue's the new, younger, flashier, like, oh, this is the new, exciting version of these old, this old version of this same thing that's been around for a decade now. But to me, I would pick Kiss because Creatures, as an album, I think is a return to form. Although I love the things that preceded it, I often wonder, had they skipped, say, Dynasty, Unmasked, and the Elder, or at least Unmasked and the Elder, and just had Creatures next, what that would have done for Kiss career-wise. But it's a return to form. I think it's a great record. Now, top to bottom, there might be more great songs on Shout at the Devil, but that's Motley's top-tier best thing, whereas Creatures is not even nearly the best overall Kiss record, right? But it is a return to form, but and I just think at that time, absolutely, and I think 80s, 100%, and I think just better and more makeup for Kiss than Motley, what they were doing with their makeup, and then the costumes to me of that era Kiss are just better and cooler than the Motley stage outfits, which were very cool. certainly, but I just pick like kind of the wise elders over the new young
right.
hot upstart thing.
I mean,
as far as winning in a battle.
Yeah, I mean, we are talking about the comic book
right.
too, and it's like Kiss has already proved their mettle.
Right.
If you can defeat Doctor Doom, with regard to what you said about creatures, I can't help but inject, much as you did, so much of the, the reality, separating from the comic book fantasy, but the reality of Kiss in 1982. Now, I didn't see the show, but everyone I know that went to the Creatures tour will attest to the new life that Kiss was displaying. They were vicious. They were like taking no prisoners. Gene was actually scary again.
Right.
And so I think that, if you put it in that, like, 1982, 83 realm where Motley and Kiss cross over.
Right.
I think Kiss, they both had something to prove.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. As soon as we take it into the comic book fantasy realm,
yeah, I think
Kiss has already won.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
But there's, again, I'm not discounting that record because, I'm not one of the, I was pretty cool. I was sort of advanced for my age, especially musically at that time, but I still wasn't quite cool. I hadn't heard Too Fast for Love.
Right.
I had seen it, I saw the cover, thought it was cool, but like my first exposure to Motley Crue, as far as going and buying the album, I think it came out on my birthday, real close to it. And yeah, it was a mind blower. It was like,
oh yeah, that record's so great, and I love Motley Crue, and that to me is like their best record, top to bottom. With everything that's on there. Yeah. But to me, and again, with me being born in 82 and kind of probably 93 before I got into Kiss, I'm working backwards over the first 20 years of history. So as a fan and a listener, I don't necessarily have any of that real-time baggage of like, oh my God, these guys I love that are rock so hard are now making a disco record. Now they're making a pop record. Now they're doing a concept. I like Dynasty and On the Mask and Elder, and I have positive arguments for all that, but I wasn't experiencing like, oh my God, these guys I worship are now disappointing me in real time because I was working backwards. But in a historical standpoint, Creatures being that return to form, I think is just, and especially like you said, taking it into the comic book realm, that to me just trumps anything Motley. With Shout of the Devil. Absolutely.
But that is interesting. That's what I like about this discussion is because there is that decade between us where, and I'm such a nostalgic person that it's nice to kind of be like checked back into you bring some objectivity to the discussion here that it's almost impossible for me to have because of the way that I attach it to being a 10-year-old or whatever.
I totally get that 100%.
There's obviously merits to all of that because you can enjoy what was hard for us to enjoy because like you said,
I wasn't alive when the Elder came out, so therefore it didn't disappoint me in real time. So therefore I can find the positive attributes of it. You know what I'm saying? So I get that. And we kind of talked about it earlier before we started recording where it's like your age dictates your entry point into certain bands and that's kind of, it is what it is, you know, because you don't choose when you were born. And
you can't change that. You can't change your influences 100%. In that way. And I, as far as the Elder goes, it's in my top 5 Kiss albums.
Oh yeah.
I just happened to be, because my parents like brought me up on some prog rock and like I like concept albums. Like I like when bands, not just Kiss, but when bands take left turns.
Oh yeah, me too.
So I was digging that, and I still do. Let's move it on to August 22nd. If Kiss had an ice cream, what flavor would it be? What Kiss song title would it be named after?
Well, really, all I could picture is an ice cream more so than a specific song title. Like, I just kept picturing Gene spitting blood. So, like, I'm picturing, I guess the flavor would be cherry because I'm picturing the shade of when Dairy Queen does the cherry dipped cones. That certain shade of red reminded me of, like, Gene spitting blood. I don't really have a good name for it. I guess Gene Simmons blood. I don't know if that's a good ice cream name or if that would sell ice cream, but that's the color I'm picturing. So I guess it is automatically making me think of cherry because of Dairy Queen. That was kind of what I was picturing from this question. You know, I thought of the color of the ice cream before I was imagining the flavor. What it would taste like.
And like you said, how well would Blood Cup sell ice cream?
I mean, I don't really have a good,
that would turn a lot of people off. And and I could make some bad puns. As far as Kiss song titles and what the flavors would be. I remember one of Rick's previous questions, like what would a Kiss breakfast cereal be, and Powie and I riffed on some stuff, and I was kind of flummoxed by this answer, like Kiss ice cream.
At least the cereal could have little $ marshmallows and little penicillin marshmallows.
Yeah. Well, I think you'd have to have candy pieces in the ice cream that represent the talisman.
Yes, you could do that. I mean, also I was like kind of picturing like those World Wrestling Federation Superstar ice cream bars. I don't know. I was kind of just picturing that, but Kiss version. I don't know, but.
Yeah, I do like the idea of a dipped cone that's just like dipped in cherry or strawberry, and it'd have to be in a cone. Yep. It'd have to be messy. It'd have to look like blood was running down your hand.
That's what I was immediately picturing from this question personally. So
yeah, that makes sense. What would it be? What would it be called? I can't.
I didn't come up with a real good name. I didn't really have a good answer to that part of the question.
Nor did I. Sorry, Rick. Every once in a while, you throw us a stumper. Cream of the Nighttime World.
Well, that's not bad.
Creamers of the Night.
That's good.
I don't know. It's no secret that I rarely ever put pen to paper in any artistic fashion, because it's like putting on a blindfold and putting a crayon in my mouth. The next question, August 23rd, asked, have you ever perfected the Kiss member autographs? Test your talent below. I have not perfected, and I have not tested. I probably spent more time trying to draw the Alive 2 gatefold.
Okay.
Than even spent drawing their faces or their signatures. I did go through a phase where I wrote my E's like the little slashes like Gene does. The way I write a K is a bit like how Paul writes his P. But apart from that, it's another tap out.
I have no ability when it comes to drawing, and my own handwriting on my own is terrible as it is, so I've never even attempted it, nor will I be. So.
Right. So we're making short work of this week's questions, are we not? See, it just gives us more time to talk about the things that really matter. New Kiss friendships. Gotta love it. August 24th asks, what Kiss stage was more epic? Hot in the Shade or Revenge? What influenced your choice?
For me, it's Revenge, and this all ties back into what we were talking about earlier, like your entry point into a band. So it was probably after I turned 10 at the end of 92. I'm getting into the band at some point during 93. So really, for me, in real time, Revenge was the first or the newest studio album that was out. And which was also kind of like another return to form album. And I think they were, after having been a band for 20 years at that point, getting praise. And I know they were an influence on a lot of the grunge bands, that were blowing up at the time. So they were actually, getting a lot of positive mentions. So probably, to the best of my recollection, Alive 3 was the first brand new thing that I bought in real time.
Okay.
So to me, just from emotionally connected to it happening standpoint, I would choose Revenge. I think the Hot in the Shade stage, obviously very cool, but for me, it's like a very special era just because it's what I was first experiencing for Revenge Alive 3. So I'm like very emotionally connected to that stuff personally because of my age and when I was getting into it.
So what was your first album? Like the first thing you had that you were able to like when you heard Revenge, did you have something to compare it to? Or
yes, I've been trying so hard to like really go back and recollect Hotter Than Hell, Dress to Kill. I remember Alive 2, Dynasty, Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun. Getting all that 70s stuff. I was kind of like acquiring that, and then got Unmasked, and
so you had the classics under your belt by the time you heard Revenge.
Well, I was kind of working retroactively. I guess I kind of, if this answer makes sense, Revenge was the newest studio album, so I got that right away. But then also I was just kind of getting my hands on all of it, kind of all at once. Yeah, if that makes sense. So I was kind of experiencing it in a jumbled fashion. Yeah,
but I mean, like, what sort of you mentioned Revenge as like a return to form.
Because that album is so heavy in my mind as far as Kiss albums go. So I don't know. I was kind of getting like that and Alive 3 were happening kind of in real time. And then I was like getting my hands on all the 70s stuff at once as fast as I could.
Revenge definitely was exciting. Johnny Scotch, we weren't in a band together at that time, but his old band and our bass player, Brian Coggins, from, I don't know if we had done, no, I think Dave Giroux was the bass player in Great Expectations before we replaced him with Brian and transitioned into Sweet Pain. But at any rate, again, speaking of like jumbling, but we friends since high school, and at that time he lived in Dearborn and Brian lived here. He lived in Flint, and so every weekend we'd go. Whether they had a gig, if they didn't have a gig, they just rehearsed. It was Acrostic was the name of that band. And it's almost like we listened to nothing but Revenge on the way down. Because it was like, I think we could listen to it twice. Yeah. It was like the length of the trip.
And it's a good enough record that, I mean, really, there's no skips. Not that I skip any song on any Kiss record, but that one is just very, very strong,
and just coming on the heels of like we liked it a little harder and heavier, and so coming on the heels of the previous albums, we really had that sense of like our boys are back.
Yeah. I can imagine that. I could imagine that would have been the prevailing feeling for a long-term fan at that point. Certainly.
But as far as the stage, though, like I didn't see the Revenge to it, so my answer, I'd have to go with Hot in the Shade. Seeing that at the Palace, seeing Leon Sphinx, I've mentioned it before, but the impact of opening with I Stole Your Love, it's just moments like that, moments like the opening of that Hot in the Shade concert, just sort of like cements everything else in place. It's like this is the most impactful, and it really has nothing to do with the album itself, because I think that's a hit and miss record. Again,
there's definitely some great stuff on there. I mean, but you can say that about every.
But it's album, it's also it's kind of like like I said about Revenge. As a Kiss fan experiencing it in real time, it's so relevant to what immediately preceded it. And because like I still have to periodically revisit Crazy Nights to sort of like to give it a chance. Because I want to like it more.
Yeah.
I want to love everything Kiss does.
Right.
But when that record came out, it was like, ugh.
Right.
And it's, and I guess if I had to pick a least favorite Kiss album, it would probably still be Crazy Nights.
That's funny you say that, because I was really thinking about stuff this morning when I was like going over the questions you sent me so I could think about it. But that was like a prevailing thought in my head that's probably my least favorite, and I still like it, especially I think the title track's good. But I mean, it's probably if I'm literally was sitting out writing it out, ranking them, that's my least favorite too. So it's funny and we did not talk about that before this second, so that's just funny. So maybe it says something about Crazy Night.
It does. I think it does. Sorry, Mike Brandvold. Everybody's got their favorite. There's no.
That's all. And I would rather listen to Crazy Nights than probably any other album by any other band. What I'm saying, like my least favorite Kiss album is still I like more than anything else.
It's still head and shoulders above a lot of shit.
Oh yeah,
yeah, for sure. So yeah, for me, but now I'm thinking, boy, now I want to go back. It's because the question is, about the stage show and the sort of comparing, Kiss always having the ability to play to the back of the room. And it's like, even the Crazy Nights tour, seeing the Crazy Nights tour, it was high energy. It was, I remember going into it, just sort of basing it on the album. And it's like, oh geez, how many of these songs am I going to have to hear just to hear Deuce or whatever, but man, it's like when you're in the room with Kiss, it's like all bets are off and you're going to enjoy it. You will enjoy this. So yeah, here we go. Moving on to, God, this is tough. There's some tough ones here, Rick. Thanks for the challenge. August 25th. Happy birthday, Gene Simmons. What is the greatest Gene Simmons song and why?
I was also thinking, so my favorite author of all time is Chuck Klosterman, who
nice.
has said his favorite band is Kiss, and certainly his favorite band to think about is Kiss.
Which is Rock City, man.
Right, which is exactly...
It's another book recommendation.
Yes, if you haven't read that, read that. Read all Chuck's books. He's incredible.
It's funny, we just finished talking about that 90s era, and it's like you can't pick your era, and the way Chuck writes about Crazy Nights, I mean, that's how you make somebody like me want to keep coming back to that well and wanting to love it.
Absolutely. But when he was saying like, oh, Kiss is certainly my favorite band to think about, and this band I've spent the most time thinking about, same with me, and I'm sure same with you, but there's certain things that I really have spent a lot of time before this thinking about, as opposed to like, what flavor ice cream would Kiss? I've never thought about that, or I never thought I should try and write their signatures because my handwriting sucks.
Yeah.
So I've never even tried it. But the music itself, I've spent an infinite amount of time thinking about. Right. So the Gene song question for me, it's interesting. I mean, and to give a definitive answer, I guess for me, I would pick Calling Dr. Love. But just something about that song, and it's, not just Gene's aspect of it, but the whole thing. I'm a sucker for cowbell, but the guitar tone on that song, and the guitar solo on the whole thing, the backing vocals, it's just great.
So I'm guessing studio over a live 2 version, like
yes. There's some about the rock and roll over version of Calling Dr. Love, and really the whole record.
Let's not forget the double platinum version.
Right. Oh yeah. Absolutely. But for me, if I'm picking, it's like rock and roll over version of it, studio version. It's just something about, especially the guitar tones on that, and the solo and Gene's voice and the backing vocals and the cowbell and the drums. The beat. It's just everything. Because in a lot of respects, they're a band that's greater than the sum of their parts. It's like everything coming together, how it came together is to me what makes Kiss so great. It just worked, whatever, if you start subtracting and like putting individual things under a microscope, but together it just works. And that's what I love about it,
Absolutely.
So for me, that's my pick, if I have to pick, but I know we off camera talked about, for me, it's hard to make definitive decisions.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, when it comes to Gene's song, what aspect of Gene are you talking about? Are you talking about the sex songs? So, Calling Dr. Love, it would be my favorite of that. But then are you looking at the demon persona songs? Like, are you talking about God of Thunder? But that strike against him because Paul wrote it. Yeah. Not that it's a strike against Gene or against Paul, but it's like, if you're picking the best Gene song, he is the God of Thunder. But because Bob Ezrin said, hey, Gene's going to sing this, but Paul wrote it with the intention of singing it. So it's like, it's a Gene song, but it's a Paul song too, because he wrote it, right? And then
you got him on a technicality on that.
That's the thing. So it's like, you could say, well, what about Rock and Roll All Night? Because to me, that's the greatest rock anthem. But to me, that's not a Gene song. It's a Kiss song, if that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely.
Even though Gene sings it, I don't feel like that's a Gene song. It's a Kiss song, you know what I mean? And I love rock anthems. Anything that qualifies as a rock anthem, I love it. And to me, Rock and Roll All Night is the greatest of that. But that's a Kiss band song. It's not Gene song. It's not a Paul song.
Right. There are songs that, to me, that ride the line a little bit, like Watching You is kind of a Gene song.
Oh yeah.
But it's also, there's, like you said, the song.
To me, Rock and Roll All Night just transcends everything. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like, what aspect of Gene are you looking at? The the demon, the fire breathing, the blood spitting. So you've got like God of Thunder, but again, Paul wrote that one. Or you've got like I Love It Loud or War Machine, or where he's kind of, the persona is coming out in certain songs. Or is it more the sex stuff, which is a big part of Gene's
or
stuff?
Or is it the demon's tender side?
Well, because that's funny you say that, because we did not talk about this before now. Because I was going to say, because there are some songs that also sound like it's not Gene Simmons. I know it's Gene Simmons singing it, but like Gene Simmons, the real person, instead of Gene Simmons, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like Great Expectations to me is like, feels like a real human being singing it as opposed to the demon. Or like When You Wish Upon a Star on the solo record, which I know is a cover, so that's not like a Gene song per se, but there are aspects of that feel like a real human being singing as opposed to the demon or the God of Thunder.
That's an example that he took a cover that has plenty of associations on its own,
right?
As a film, as a film track, as a standard now. But like he is able to those of us who know Gene Simmons and why he started Kiss and why he, the sort of man he is, like why it's obvious why he chose to include that song on his solo record.
Right.
Like again, like with so much of this stuff, because we spend so much time thinking about it from all the angles, it's like, well, ask me what my favorite is tomorrow.
Well,
and I'll
that's
give you a different
very
answer.
true too.
Like,
I know.
I want to, like, the songwriter Gene, like, I love See You Tonight. See You Tonight is a great
it's great.
Gene
And, like,
song.
the Unplugged, MTV Unplugged version of that is so good. So good. I mean, I love that. But I'm 100% agree with you. It's like, ask me on any given day and you'll get a different answer. But for the purposes of this, I was trying to come up with definitive answers, which before we started filming, I told you is certainly hard for me when it comes to Kiss to pick a definitive favorite in so many different aspects.
But I think, your answer, Calling Dr. Love, to me, that's, it's not as overt as, say, God of Thunder or Almost Human. But that has enough of the demon in there.
It's like
the bat lizard scariness. Like, Gene's persona, that's before I had a Kiss record. One of my early memories is seeing them on Mike Douglas. I wasn't even sure that they were a band. I didn't know what the fuck I was saying. All I know is it scared the living shit out of me. And that's because of the way Gene carried himself on camera and on stage. And it's like, when I pick a favorite Gene song, a big part of me wants to make it about the demon, which
Right.
is like, and the way you talk about the production, the way Calling Dr. Love hits you when you listen to the Rock and Roll Over version, like Almost Human totally transported me for years. I don't know if I could pick a solid favorite, but when I was a kid, that song made Love Gun for me.
Yeah.
Because I just, man, Almost Human, it gets an honorable mention. Great Expectations. I feel like I'm in the minority of Kiss fans who love that song, because, Kiss being a reason, and honestly, just prior to me going whole hog into Kiss, I was a big Elton John fan as a kid. And it's like, by that point, like, I wasn't even in school. And it's like music was ruling my life. I knew I wanted to do that. And so the first time I heard Great Expectations, I was like, wow, like that. Unlike a lot of songs, a lot of rock and roll songs, like you could hear every word. And to this day, I'm not really a lyrics guy. I'm more into the way a song sounds.
Right.
I'm moved by the music more than I am the lyrics. But that's a very early example of something where the lyrics like really resonate with any kid who aspires to be on stage.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, that one has merit. It's so hard to pick a favorite Gene song.
Right.
But
I've got answers for everything, like oddball choice. I'd say Sweet Pain, just because I love that song and everything about that song in particular. But to me, like, definitive answer, if like you have to choose, it's, for me, got to be Calling Dr. Love. Just like every time it starts, it's just something about that song that really just hits so hard for me.
Yep. I feel that. Like I said, I had mentioned Watching You. Those scary demon songs.
Yeah.
And again, so much of my answers when it comes to favorite are motivated by that nostalgia.
Right.
Of the fear component of Gene being the scary one, and
right.
He was the magnet of all the people in Kiss. Even once I became a drummer and I got more into Peter, and I would, most times when I like put on the makeup,
right,
I'd be like trying to do Peter Chris. Gene's makeup was always hard, especially as a kid.
Right.
I remember one time my mom helped me make up my face, and we tried. Neither one of us could do a very good Gene, but yeah, I mean he's definitely the focal point of Kiss for me, and so to pick a favorite, I have to go by the facets. I have to. I love the fact that See You Tonight is not even 3 minutes long, and it's just he nails it. That's such a great song. But yeah, Calling Dr. Love is amazing. Ladies Room, I really like the growliness, like those Alive 2 versions. Larger Than Life has to be mentioned.
You can make, depending on how you want to look, you can make, if you're like, what?
It's like
non-makeup, you could make, argument for Unholy, if you're looking at non-makeup stuff, because that's like we said, Revenge being such a return to form album, but I feel like, like Unholy just hits so hard on that.
The non-makeup, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like that's a whole nother can of worms, man.
Absolutely.
Fits Like a Glove. I remember the first time I hearing Fits Like a Glove, I was like, man, Gene is just like his throat is bleeding. He's going for it, man.
Oh, yeah.
I love his vocal on that.
Oh yeah.
So just pick a favorite so we can move on to the next question. August 26th. There's too many good answers for that.
Right.
August 26th asks, what are your thoughts on the real Kiss blood from the Marvel Super Special 77? Supposedly accidentally being used in the June 6th, 77 version of Sports Illustrated with Big Bird on the cover. Does this supposed rumor make both magazines a Kiss collectible?
I say yes, and I say double yes. It's not just a Kiss collectible, but a Detroit collectible. I think if this was going to happen by accident, this could not have worked out probably more perfectly when you look at Kiss and their association with Detroit, and Detroit Rock City comes out in 76 on Destroyer, and now, even though they're a New York City band, Kiss is forever associated with and linked to Detroit. To the point where I saw Jane's Addiction on a reunion tour in 2003.
Oh, did
at
you
the
go
Palace?
To that,
and they went and they did a mini acoustic set in the middle of the show on a stage on the floor.
Okay.
And Perry's saying, "We love Detroit. We love you. We love the Stooges. We love MC5. We love Kiss." Like, I mean, Kiss isn't from, he's naming bands literally from Detroit, and then said we love Kiss because they're from fucking New York City, but so associated with Detroit. So that's 76.
Yeah.
And then Mark Fidrich, the Tigers pitcher, who came out of nowhere and became a sensation for the entire summer of 1976, that same year, and literally lit the city of Detroit on fire with, media coverage and just positivity. And so, I mean, those, and for him to be on that cover, I mean, to me, it's just a whole Detroit thing, a whole 1976 thing, even though I know this is a 1977 SI. It's Mark Fidrich is on the cover of this because of his summer of 76.
Right.
And Kiss in the summer of 76 with Detroit Rock City being on Destroyer. I mean, it's just, to me, just such a perfect tie-in. And it's a Kiss collectible, but also a Detroit collectible for us Kiss fans from the state of Michigan. It's kind of, we have that extra special affinity, being from here. So
now Rick makes a point of allegedly that's what it is. And again, my apologies to those of you who are craving any kind of resolution. if you watch Hey Man, Nice Kiss shirt, that Fido don't do prep. I would have tried to get at least a little closer to a definitive answer on whether this has Kiss blood in it. It's in my hands, okay? It's obviously fair game as a Kiss collectible.
Right. And
but anyway, the Bird, Mark Fidrich, he was a hero of mine. I was also really into Dracula, aside from being into Kiss, and every time I took the field, I did so in this orange cape and a hard hat that I had taken a magic marker and written, and I think I wrote it on the back of the cape too. Mark the Bird Fidrich, because the first baseball game that I live ball game that I ever saw was Fidrich pitching against the White Sox that summer. My grandpa was a big baseball fan. I confess I am not. The Bird was kind of a standout.
Yeah, he was a unique, unique guy and cool.
He was a weirdo. He was a complete weirdo.
But to me, it counts as a Kiss collectible and a Detroit collectible, and the whole Detroit tie-in and the 1976 tie-in. Detroit Rock City comes out that year. This is the 1 year in the majors that Mark the Bird Fidrich is just on fire out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it all ties in, and then Tiger Stadium.
It's kind of interesting too. It's because
ties in,
Kiss not being from, and Fidrich being from Boston.
My first real concert ever when I was 13 was the first show of the reunion tour at Tiger Stadium. So that was my first real rock concert, full on rock concert.
Nice.
So, after having grown up, going to a bunch of Tigers games there with my parents and grandparents and stuff, then to see my first real show there, so I think it counts.
We find ourselves at the end of
Hey Man, nice Kiss shirt.
Thank you for hanging with us. Big thanks to my guest, Nick,
Dude, thanks for having me, man. This
Dude,
is super fun. Thank
we
you so
can,
much. I appreciate it.
We'll do this again.
Absolutely, dude.
I've thought about how I'm going to sustain this pod after I reach the end of this book.
Just hit play and let Nick run his mouth.
I think
that might be it.
Hey, that could be the deal. Stick around for next week. I'm sure Powie will be back with some exciting tales, or at least some goofy voices, doing what he does best. Do me a favor, put your two lips together and kiss that subscribe button. And remember the words of the barbarian. Play hard, play fair, nobody hurt. Hey man, nice Kiss shirt. It's the Remco. Yeah.